Here from MAIT, and it's a pleasure to actually address this audience on something which is not on a cloud, something on which all of us are standing at this point of time, and that is our Earth, and to take up topics which possibly sometimes get overlooked, but they're still pretty interesting and relevant and exciting depending on the way you look at it. And I'm going to talk about green computing and how to make it green as a subject matter topic that the industry bodies are now looking at, and definitely MAIT as the apex hardware institution in the country is focusing on very aggressively. It's a topic which frankly has a lot of implications for our country, simply because there's tons of e-waste getting generated at this point of time across the marketplace. Just hold on. So let me actually start by asking you this question: why do we have to make it green? And what do we have to make green? Green IT is something which has been talked of a number of times, and it is actually you hear it in the context of energy efficiency operations. You hear it in terms of e-waste disposal of schemes. There's a whole lot of context in which you actually talk of green IT. And let me tell you that most association bodies, they actually look at green IT in one of these fields, in the field of design. So a lot of manufacturers will turn around and say, I'm designing a green product. And there are members of MAIT who have green computers and who are advertising green computing as deliverable to the market. Then you have the concept of consumption, and how do you moderate that consumption? And that is actually another area which is very relevant to green IT, and that is energy efficiency. You know that actually 15% of your personal residential electricity bill is coming because of items which are on standby, televisions, the mobile charger which you leave on, after you remove your charged mobile from it, and if it's still plugged in, it is actually consuming energy, and these devices are contributing up to 15% of your personal electricity bill every month. You have another area where green IT becomes very relevant. And then you have the concept of disposal. That is, if you have consumed something and you have brought energy efficiency there, after you have consumed it, after you have extracted the full functional value out of it, what do you do with that particular product? What do you do with that disposal of that waste that is created? And that is where the e-waste programs actually chip in. The fact is, why do we have to make it green? Because if it is not green, it is dead, and it has no life. And really, if you have to have life, you have to make it green. Do you know, and this is actually going to be the theme, do you know that Earth is actually a finite system? It's not that the resources are unlimited. You can exploit it, you can extract as much as you can out of it, but if you're not sensitive to it, you're actually driving the consumption on a path which is self-destructive. Our resources are limited. We are wasting a substantial amount of energy in our current lifestyles. For example, when you leave that handset on in a plug, you are consuming energy. A typical mobile handset charger is having a no watt load. That means if you're not actually consuming any energy, if you're not charging anything out of it, if it is just plugged in a socket, it will be consuming anything between 5 to 7 watts of energy. And what do you do after you've got your headset charged? Do you leave it in the socket? Okay. Do you leave the PC you're working on do you leave it in a standby condition when you walk out of the office in the evening? Can you imagine the amount of power that is actually getting consumed out of it? Let me take a simple statistics of handset chargers. You have 60 crore. You have 60 crores handset chargers in the country. can you imagine the amount of energy getting consumed in a no-watt condition, in a no-load condition on it? It's actually going to be a whopping energy bill close to about 8,000 crores. Assuming a fraction of time, not all 24 hours, plugged in the socket light, it's still 8,000 crores of electricity bill on the normal residential rates that is actually being frittered away by that particular device. Do you know that most countries are now graduating towards devising and defining their energy efficiency standards? In our country, Bureau of Energy Efficiency has already rolled out the standards for some of the consumer appliances. Australia is planning to move next year, in 2012, to a 1 watt no-load power standard. That means they will not have any appliance, they will not permit any appliance to be sold in the market if it is having a consumption of more than 1 watt in a no-load condition. Now, do you know what that means for India? It means that if we are not coming out with our own standards, if we are not coming out with our own legislation, if we are not careful, all the junk, all the non-standard higher wattage inventory in the Asia Pac is going to come into our country. It's actually something worth reflecting on. We have a need to make it green, and we have a need to define our standards and move ahead as an industry in having a conscious execution on these things. Do you know that India is generating close to about 500,000 tons of e-waste every year? 500,000 tons of e-waste every year, and barely 4% of it is getting into a recycling process at this point of time. In fact, we have been monitoring the movement of e-waste in the country, and we feel that the actual figures could be even more scary and lower, and there is a considerable need to look at the actual e-waste generation and the e-waste flow that is taking place in the country and have powerful laws eventually, but at this stage at least a general sensitivity of everyone to address this control of e-waste and recycling of e-waste and disposal of e-waste as an issue. Actually, strictly speaking, when you take a look at all the e-waste that you saw on the last slide, this particular slide, you know that e-waste in this particular image, you also see a lot of death, you see a lot of pain, you see a lot of hazardous substance. There are a lot of people who look at it and they also see a lot of gold, a lot of rare metals, and a lot of opportunities. The fact is that you can actually extract some of those rare earth, some of those metals out of the e-waste in a way that is economical and which can actually benefit the country. So making it green is actually a nation building goal, and it is something that cannot be ignored that easily. The entire effort is actually an effort of educating the market, of building that sensitivity in the market, and it is a team building goal. It's not something which can be done by an individual, and it's something where you just have to step forward and take a lead. I would like to share a quick video which captures this mode very vividly. To some extent, the spirit of the young boy who actually led a movement just by taking the initiative. And that's it. I mean, it may not be something which is so it may not be something which may appear, easy. But the fact remains, you have to take the step, and then you will be able to build that change, that movement, and that is what we are actually at this time attempting. We do not have too many opportunities to address this. We have one world, or we have to actually save energy to save tomorrow, and that's the key message we want to drive. To some extent, what we are saying here are not just motherhood statements. There is a lot of work that is happening on making this happen. At this point of time, MAIT as an association is working very closely with the legislators to drive the regulation in the country. And this year, you will see energy efficiency guidelines coming out, which will put certain norms back in the market and hopefully prevent non-standard products from getting imported into the country. This year, you will see an e-waste legislation coming to the market, and there is going to be a tremendous responsibility that will start building on all elements of the ICT ecosystem to start executing and taking e-waste out of the system in a deterministic manner. When these legislations hit, there will be a lot of supporting systems that are going to be required to make these legislations really functional. You can't actually think in terms of having an e-waste law out there without having a way of measuring, without having a way of reporting, without having a way of building the compliance in. You'll find that association body like MAIT will actually be delivering that initiative back to the nation. I believe if our people are here, I would like to ask them to take a separate discussion because the implications are phenomenal. It's not something that can be handled just by an individual or a regional association. It is something which will have to be done on a national basis. Simply because if you take a look at it, you are selling brands which are not local, which are actually national brands. And when there are responsibilities which are going to come up for national accounting of the e-waste, it cannot be done just on basis of a single isolated effort. There is a whole lot of additional support that is happening at this point of time. We are at this stage far ahead of anybody else, actually experimenting with 4 pilots in Bangalore, in Pune, in Delhi and in Calcutta. Calcutta will be spinning off very shortly, where we are trying to look at informal channels, consolidating them into formal associations and doing trainings, doing handholding, doing compliance testing, working back to the government to consolidate and build those particular organizations up as potential options for e-waste collection and disposal. You will also have very interesting tools available, not just for the disposal part, for energy efficiency part as well at this point of time. So you might have energy saving tools which can be deployed in organizations coming in from the MAIT affiliations. We are a part of the Green IT Promotion Council. We are a member of DES, Climate Saving Computing Initiative. And as a result, there is a lot of global best practices that we are building back for our community in India. And in turn, we are also trying to build our own best practice basis to drive goals which are showing a visible dent back into the marketplace. So somewhere along the line, there's a vision that across the next 1 year, we touch about 1,000 organizations and touch through them a few 100,000 users and touch through them a net saving which could be turning out into a few tens of crores on just energy saving, and that is just the start. Somewhere along the line, just in Pune, our initiatives will be touching close to about 460,000 households in Pune Municipality Corporation and 150,000 households in the Pimpri-Chinchwad Municipality Corporation. There's a lot that we hope to do, and we hope to do in association with all the communities. Look forward to working back with you. There's a lot to be done, and I think we need to do it together on making it green. Thank you.